watching a special coverage of portfolio allocation as far as NDA 3.0 is concerned. Of course, that big cabinet meeting was underway, and we're learning from our sources that NDA 3.0 or Modi 3.0, the focus is going to be on continuity, more of the same, of course, repeating, the past successes of the government's past 10 years. And of course, to discuss this further, I'm now joined by Mr. Madhavan Narayanan, who's, of course, a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us this evening. Do give us your perspectives on the information that's really trickling in. Of course, we are yet to get a formal communication as far as who really gets what, but indications are that it is going to be more of the same. So definitely investors can really breathe a sigh of relief as the Modi government is going to focus on continuity.
Yeah, I think there's much more continuity than I expected, especially because all the heavyweight portfolios have been not only retained by the BJP, but the same ministers have been given continuing charge. You have Nirmala Sitharaman as finance minister, Amit Shah as home minister, Nitin Gadkari stays as the transport minister, and you have a railway minister, which was railway stays with Ashwini Vaishnav, and that's a bit of a surprise for me, if you ask me, because given the politics of allies, and railways is considered a juicy ministry for regional leaders, especially, Bihar and Bengal have in the past vied for this ministry. The fact that it hasn't been given away to either TDP or Bihar Janata Dal United is a bit of a news, which shows that Modi likes to retain control and he's still calling the shots. But, there has been a delay of more than 24 hours, so you can say almost 24 hours in the announcing of the portfolios. And there has been an announcement on other things. It was a very strange thing to see the first cabinet meeting being held after Prime Minister Modi was sworn in for his third term without the ministers really knowing what their portfolios are, which is very, very unusual. And then there are issues, some rumors and gossip floating about who will be the speaker of the new Lok Sabha, and, Shinde Sena, Shiv Sena not being happy with the portfolio, wanting cabinet berth, and the NCP, of course, has publicly talked about not accepting anything less than a cabinet berth. So these things remain, and we'll have to look at the details of the entire 76-minister council. All this, there are two ways to look at it. One, from, as you said, from the investor point of view, if the major ministries are retained by the BJP, in the short term, it's a sort of a stable, from a policy point of view, it's more of the same, or maybe more some reformist measures or continuity. But if from the point of view of political stability of the government as a whole, we have to sort of wait and watch to see if there are any murmurs of protest or dissatisfaction. These things will not have any impact immediately or in the short term, but these are the things that can actually grow in size over a period of time if the history of coalition politics in India in the past is any indication. So let's say Mr. Modi has carefully crafted a socially and politically diverse cabinet with a conspicuous absence of any Muslim in the Council of Ministers, in spite of having some very talented and active Muslim members in the BJP. That is something to be noted. But apart from that, there are issues related to region and caste that has been well taken care of.
Yes, Mr. Madhavan. Also, very importantly, the decisions that Mr. Modi took this morning about authorizing the release of the installment of the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, and of course extending that PM Awas scheme. Of course, somewhere the Modi government really realizes, what has really happened after elections, but still, holding strong as far as taking those key and crucial decisions are concerned. Of course, the messaging here is that they have to really placate the farmers, and second and most importantly, that agriculture welfare is going to be at the center of this government, as also something that the Prime Minister said in his first address in the PMO this morning.
These are good points. Let me add that the housing initiative also is quite interesting, because large-scale construction of homes essentially addresses 3-4 issues all at once. On the one hand, it keeps demand up for a macroeconomic growth scenario. On the second point, it's more home construction tends to generate more jobs at the grassroots level than before. Just like agriculture, agriculture and homes are both very job spinners. To that extent, the opposition criticism of unemployment growing under Modi has been addressed. And the fact is that Mr. Modi also wants to address vital points over the heads of regional castes and other issues to say or give a message to the ordinary Indians that he still has economic welfare measures at the bottom of the pyramid in his mind. So these are all very strong symbolic signals. We'll have to see what the Kisan Samman Nidhi is all about, because I haven't looked at the numbers yet. But it's a tough call, actually, because there's much more to be addressed in terms of income generation for farmers. That's what the issues related to minimum support prices are. We'll have to wait and watch. Now that we have the agriculture, as a top priority, we'll have to wait. After all, it's just the government is not even technically speaking 24 hours old.
Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll have to wait and watch out for the final word on who really gets these large ministries. But an important point also coming out, Mr. Madhavan, that it's not just one minister who's going to hold on to multiple portfolios. At least that's what the indications really are. We'll, of course, like I said, have to wait for a final word to come in on this. And some of the key ministries being given to one minister. And it's not, like I said, a multiple portfolio, also considering that a record number of ministers got inducted into the cabinet yesterday.
I had never any doubt about that, except from the point of view of Telugu Desam and Janata Dal United wanting some ministries. We still have to watch that space. But apart from that, the rest of it is highly symbolic and tokenist in conveying signals of regional and caste diversity, and also some kind of a symbolic reward for some of the winners. And the strange thing about this cabinet or council of ministers is that some people have been inducted not in spite of, let's say, from Uttar Pradesh not doing too well, because with the future in mind, because Mr. Modi needs the continued support of some community leaders. So that is also there. So it's not a very meritocratic council of ministers, if I may say so, politically or economically speaking, at the larger council. But the fact that the core portfolios are retained by the old loyalists and the same ministers with the same ministry shows that as much as possible, Mr. Modi is trying for a continuity rather than change.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Modi trying for continuity rather than change. And of course, Mr. Madhavan, all eyes now on what the government's 100-day agenda is going to be, and of course, on that big ticket event that is going to be budget, and how fiscally prudent this government is going to be, and of course, how it really balances a capex expansion as well.
Of course. We'll have to look at the fact that, this is a very interesting budget that we're going to look at, because it's a very comfortable situation as far as GST collections are concerned, and the RBI's 1 lakh crore plus dividend handed over to the government on the eve of the new Prime Minister taking over with the election counting yet to happen. It's a very strong cushion for fiscal elbow room for the government. How the Modi government uses this, whether to tilt on the side of consumer bias and agriculture and employment, or whether the more of the 56, what is called the muscular infrastructure, these are the things that we'll have to look out for. We'll have to read the details rather than the headlines. Thank you.
Sir, I'll come back to you in just a bit. Our colleague Prakash Priyadarshi is joining us also with some live inputs coming in. Prakash, what are you gathering? Tell us.
Yeah. Yes. Can you repeat your question?
Yes, please. Please go ahead. What are some of the latest inputs that you're gathering on portfolio allocation?
Of portfolios, now it is a time for the ministers to arrive at the ministry to take charge. However, some of them are expected to arrive today itself, and some of them are expected to arrive tomorrow early morning to take charge. And then the official work would be started, and that's an important development coming in, as the Prime Minister in today's cabinet meeting once again has reiterated that the ministers should start working on the 100-day agenda And of course, in a run-up to the forthcoming union budget, that's going to be very important. And with the announcement of this portfolio, this official work would be started, consultation process would be initiated with industry, and the final shape would be given. And with that, the proposal would be sent to the cabinet. And after the approval of cabinet, that is going to be implemented. So very significant development coming in. Officially, the Modi government 3.0 has been started. It is back in action. You can clearly see the way the portfolio has been allocated. Number of ministers are same. That means there is a continuity in the policy making. We are not going to change. We are not going to see any major changes in terms of policy making, especially when it
In
comes
fact,
to
Prakash,
economic.
on a bumper note is what I'd say NDA 3.0 has started. But any details are we going to hear from the cabinet? Is there going to be a cabinet briefing in a short while from now, or has that been pushed to tomorrow? Anything are you hearing as far as that is concerned?
The cabinet meeting has already been concluded, but they are not going to hold briefing today. However, when it comes to the cabinet outcome, we are given to understand that the Indian cabinet in its first meeting has decided to approve additional construction of additional houses under PM Awas Yojana. As per the information, around 3 crore new houses, Pakka houses, these are affordable houses, will be constructed under PM Awas Yojana. And the financial support would be bared by the government of India. That's an important development coming in, and that shows that the Modi government 3.0 has started with a big bang when it comes to welfare measures, when it comes to provide relief to the middle class. You know, remember, a few days ago, while addressing India Parliamentary Party, the Prime Minister has given clear signal that his government this time around is going to provide some much needed relief to the middle class for living. So that's an important development coming in, and we can see a variety of such decisions in the days to come, which will provide relief to the middle class in terms of a tax cut, in terms of some other measures, relaxation in GST, GST rate rationalization. So variety of such decisions are going to be announced, and that will provide much needed relief to the middle class. Back to you.
Absolutely. We'll have to see, Prakash. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll have to see what kind of decisions the Modi government takes in the first 100-day agenda, of course, has been talked about. And, of course, to get us more perspective on the cabinet portfolio allocation, we're now joined by Tejas Mehta, who's, of course, a political commentator. Tejas, thanks for taking the time out and speaking with us. Your first thoughts on the kind of portfolio allocation that has been done, and this is, of course, according to what sources are telling us. What are some of the big key takeaways for you?
Well, I think the big 4-5 portfolios, finance, defense, home ministry, and you also have urban infrastructure, I think, and external affairs. I think those were expected that the BJP would hold on to them, because these are key portfolios which the government wants to focus on, which Narendra Modi has, exercised, his writ on, and therefore they have continued with the same. Defense Ministry has gone to Rajnath Singh, Home Ministry once again to Amit Shah. External Affairs, it was already clear in the morning itself when we had Mr. Jaishankar meeting foreign leaders who had come for Mr. Narendra Modi's swearing in Bangladesh Chief Prime Minister, and many other leaders from abroad. He was already meeting them, so it was quite clear that he would be the next foreign minister. So that continuity has remained, and of course the most important two ministries for the government is finance and highways and road, and Ministry of Road and Highways. Now these are two key ministries for the government, given the fact that they're very high on infrastructure, and they have continued with the highwayman of India, Nitin Gadkari, who has done a phenomenal job in the last last 10 years, in fact. So they have continued with that. Finance Ministry, once again, I think it's all about continuity, not only as far as policies of the government are concerned, but more importantly, remember, when the government talks about ease of business, about making things more convenient, there's also a continuity of the minister who is in charge, because if one has to deal with a new set of people in all these different ministries, it becomes much harder for those coming in, because once again one has to create a rapport, one has to break eyes, and all of that takes time. So I think when there is continuity, and if the minister has performed well, it augurs well as far as ease of business is concerned, because that breaking of ice is not there. One gets to business almost immediately, and one knows what to expect as far as that person is concerned, because it's not just about policies and the law. It's also about human relations when it comes to dealing with the different types of people. So I think taking into account all of that, this continuity will really help the government, get on to the world, to get on to business as soon as possible.
And very interestingly, I'll bring your attention to, some of the initial pictures that we were showing to our viewers of Prime Minister sitting in the center, of course, being flanked by top 5 ministers of the BJP, including Nirmala Sitharaman, Piyush Goyal, Nitin Gadkari, and of course Shivraj Chauhan as well. There have been murmurs and of course speculations about whether on the kind of challenges that this government is going to face as far as the compulsions of a coalition government are concerned. But like the Prime Minister stated in his address last week, that this government is going to also figure in the priorities of its regional partners, and it's going to balance out regional priorities along with national priorities as well. So that worry also seems to be fading, considering that the BJP is now clearly communicating that it is not going to bow down to any kind of unnecessary pressure, whilst at the same time incorporating details, incorporating views of its coalition partners, and of course following, like the Prime Minister says, coalition dharma.
As far as the Prime Minister is concerned, I do recall a lot of questions being raised about his his flexibility as far as, allies are concerned. Let's go back, 10 years. The same questions were asked whether he will be able to handle. He's handled a state government called in Gujarat, but will he be able to handle foreign affairs? He knows nothing about it, and that's been his, key, success as far as Narendra Modi is concerned. So he has overcome that, and he has been able to deliver. Let's go back 20 years to Gujarat, and he was at that point of time, almost a mere karyakarta in that sense, and he shot up and became the chief minister. So everybody raised that question, will he be able to rule a state? And he again did phenomenally well as far as Gujarat was concerned. So I have absolutely no doubts. Let's remember that politics is the art of the impossible and the possible. And in politics, flexibility is all that matters. One may think that, he is extremely, rigid in that sense, and he cannot work and it's his way or the highway. But do remember, in a party like his also, there will he has to negotiate with people within the party also. And then, of course, with many other political leaders, many other business leaders, he is working with a lot of people. So not having flexibility is not something I see. I think he will be able to do well as far as that is concerned. Second, as far as the allies are concerned, do remember that there is a sense of comfort for the BJP, as far, especially because there is almost no other alternative. Even, let's say, hypothetically tomorrow, Nitish Kumar and Mr. Chandrababu Naidu were to dump this government and move to the India bloc, they will still not be able to make, cross 272. They will need smaller parties. They may need independent, MPs, and that would, make a very hotspot government, would not be stable. Third, nobody really wants a fresh elections. So I think there is a TINA factor. There is no other alternative, and therefore this formation will have to stick. So that bargaining chip, which we had seen in earlier, governments, like say when Mr. Gowda was there or I.K. Gujral was there, where the supporting partners could really, arm twist the government. I don't see that really happening there, given the fact that the BJP has 240 seats. It's a huge number. The numbers this time for the allies are much smaller, and therefore they're wielding that they can negotiate to a minimum, and not really push their demands beyond the point, because it's not really going to help anyone.
Thanks very much, Tejas, for your thoughts, for sharing your thoughts with us on the broadcast. And now let me go across to market expert Ajay Srivastava. Mr. Srivastava, with the kind of inputs that we are gathering from our reporters, it seems that continuity is going to be the norm, and the government is going ahead with more of the same. How do you think the markets are going to respond to that? Is it a little bit of a breather come in, considering that considering the kind of chaos that we saw last Tuesday, although the markets have gathered back momentum. But what does this really signal as far as the markets are concerned, and what can we expect in the next few days?
Well, I think one thing is very clear for investors is back to doing what we do normally, is to look at the company's earnings, look at FI flows, look at domestic flows, and take decisions irrespective of what happens in political. So that's one clear indication, is that this continuity, everybody remaining the same. And with one notable thing which is good is that a person like Shivraj Chauhan coming in agriculture, I think that's a great addition because he knows how to work the system, is good. On the other hand, it's a little bit disappointing to me, honestly, because this is also a chance to refresh people. Just like the CEOs of the company, etc., you tend to get jaded over time. Your ideas get fixated. Your attitude to problems becomes the same, and so on. And therefore, this was every cabinet formation could have been a chance to move some people around, not for the reason of competence alone, but to get them a little more refreshing aspect to the position, jobs, policies, and approach to the problems. And I think that's an opportunity lost because this means more of the same which could continue. Now, more of the same did not give dividends in terms of whether it's the inflation, whether it is the per diversity, the income disparity that we see in the country today, which are the two main things why the ruling party did not do well. Now, if the same thing continues, I do not know how those two issues will be dealt with because inflation is hurting badly. Income disparity has also been a very big issue. Employment has been a third big issue of that. So, one would have thought perhaps, maybe hopeful that little turnaround leadership changes here and there could have meant at least a different approach to the same three problems. Now one sees the same thing. So one wonders that will the result be the same as what we had? And the three problems continue, which has dogged the political system and the people of the country. Rest of all, as I said, with continuity, we look at just what the earnings of the companies are, prospects, defense expenditures, and so on, fiscal deficit, all those factors will start to come in. But I think perhaps an opportunity lost to address the three big issues facing the economy and the country, which I said was inflation is there, income disparity, and employment. Perhaps opportunity missed, or perhaps he may change it around further down the line as we go. But I think it would have been better to refresh than to see everything same.
So you are saying that it's better to see something refreshed rather than more of the same. But I think from the several market experts who've really been tweeting out, they've really been expressing confidence as far as this portfolio allocation is concerned. We do respect your thoughts, sir. Surely the government has several challenges, and one of them happens to be job creation, to weed out unemployment, as that's also been one of the key election challenges for the BJP. But now looking at going forward, we've also seen the government take up some big projects, and it has really achieved remarkable progress as far as those projects are concerned, which includes the implementation of GST. Taxes have come down, the implementation of its infrastructural agenda, the implementation of its manufacturing agenda. The Prime Minister was also speaking about semiconductors. But do give us your sense on what are your big expectations on what the government should really be focusing on in the next few months if India has to continue the growth momentum as it's been doing all along, and if more investors are to be inducted into the equity markets.
I think one thing very clearly, you mentioned market experts. For the market, generally speaking, no change is good news always. Given the way the market has performed, why do you want to change a mix where the market is at 23,500 or so on and so forth? So it is understandable that for people, market perspective, very limited market perspective, it's important that continuity is the name of the game. So you don't really have to rethink your paradigm of investments. You're blocked into various investment avenues and your portfolio choices. So you don't need to disturb any of that given the new setup. That's true for the market. But, my view was a little more than the market, because there is also the rest of the world which dictates into the market, which is a consumption story which is coming on, which has been rather weak at the end of the day. And therefore, one would tend to believe we need some new policies at the end of the day to address the gaps in the system. Now, not everything has worked well, not everything has worked bad. Great things have happened in the last 5 years, and the largest being the defense companies. I think they have come into their own. The PSU revitalization has been an amazing story. But those have to be put in context of the rest of the goals as well. So to that extent, I think we would be all well served. What is continuity remains there. But whatever gaps, I think if they get filled up, it'll become a far more kind of a stable platform, because we will have state elections down the line. Just now, Haryana, Maharashtra will come into place. And, as the politics keep rolling around, I think these issues, whether it's the Agniveer issue which came up in Haryana, so, these need to be addressed simultaneously. Market would like everything to remain the same. But I wish life for the whole country was the market.
Absolutely, absolutely, sir. And thank you, Mr. Srivastava, for joining us with your thoughts. So definitely, while some market experts and, of course, other political experts are, of course, giving a thumbs up as far as portfolio allocation is concerned, considering that it signals continuity. But others like Mr. Ajay Srivastava are really saying that he would have loved to see some sort of a change, as continuity might not be always good news. We'll, of course, have to see how the markets react tomorrow. But a couple of key takeaways from today's portfolio allocation. Number one, as I've been speaking over the past few hours, that continuity is, of course, the name of the game as far as the BJP government is concerned. The Prime Minister likes performers, and he has inducted those who have really performed, who have showcased good work in the past few years, in the past 10 years. And according to what his agenda is, according to what his vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 seems to be, this perfectly aligns with what we have seen today. Number two, the BJP is not really bowing or cowing under pressure from allies. It has made it pretty clear that the top ministries are going to be the BJP. Bearing in mind what corporate India expects, however, it is also going to incorporate its alliance members as a mark of respect, as a mark of coalition dharma as well. And of course, interesting to also see some ministers, some new joinees like Jewel Oram, for example, who's the Minister of Tribal Affairs, and several other ministers who've also been inducted into the Union Cabinet. Very interestingly, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan has now been made the Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. An important portfolio has also been given to Mr. M.L. Khattar, who was the former Chief Minister of Haryana, given that elections are just around the corner. So it is going to be incumbent, it is going to be important for the government to quell any kind of opposition that there might be, not really quell, but to address any kind of challenges that it might face with respect to farmers, with respect to agriculture, and with respect to villages, and of course reviving that rural growth story.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.